Hey everybody. Look, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video. So I'm back for another review of Harlem. Season 2, episodes 5 through 6. And I just do both of them together because I do. Pride, episode 5, and then episode 6 is Out of the Deadpan into the Fire. So we pick back up with Camille telling Ty about her possibly not being able to have children and Ian walking up on a conversation. So they managed to get him away by talking about period blood, cramps, and women's stuff. Quinn still has not shown up to her parents' vow renewal. Okay. Everybody is texting her trying to figure out where she is. She tells them that the Vogue interview went well, on their group text or whatever, and says sorry she won't be able to make it, and like your parents' vow renewal is like a regular get together. Like she just won't be able to make it. She says she's partying with the Vogue crew and that actually she's sitting at home crying about where her life is. I'm gonna be honest. That is something I would do. Not so much for a parental vow renewal, but I have done, honestly. I find it very hard to be vulnerable with people, if I'm just being honest, even if they are friends. I'm always afraid of burdening people with my problems, or worse, than my problems will be misunderstood, or I'll be judged for them. And so I have retreated during times where I'm sad and texted people a story to say I'm away, um, so they wouldn't worry. Um, and then we don't get like a full scene with the vow renewal or what would have been a real life reaction to their daughter not showing up. And I'm just like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Just when like Harlem has like these good ideas, I still feel like it's in the draft stages where we get this setup for like really good plot lines, but then all of a sudden people are just like they just leave us hanging like it never happened. And so I'm just sitting up here like the fuck? What is going on? But okay, girl, we just gonna act like it never happened. Like your parents' vow renewal, you never showed up, and it never re-arrives in this episode or in the next. But okay, come on, man, good. You gotta do better. So anyway, Camille's teaching her summer course, minding her business. So she comes out and she runs into Jameson right outside her class. Apparently, her boyfriends feel very comfortable finding her at work, okay, and just showing up. So he apparently Jameson applied for this grant when they were together to fund research on Black women and maternal health. But he put in both their names, and he says he didn't tell her because he didn't want her. I think he didn't want her to be disappointed if it didn't work out. So she tells him very clearly that her and Ian are back together. So he should just take it, and she's busy looking for a job. Okay. So he was like, "You'll be more competitive with it on your resume." I understand your relationship with Ian, Megan, not Megan, Camille, but girl, you are in New York, and you are scraping by on that adjunct salary. Uh, unless I miss something, and Ian is paying the bills that you can't pay, baby girl, looking for a job and taking $25,000 worth of grant money until you figure it out seems best. His ego is just gonna have to be pushed aside. All right, boom. Then we get Pride Weekend. I am really struggling with this 30 something woman who just figured out she's gay. And I would, I could rock with this storyline if it was like somebody who struggled having admitted that they had these feelings all along and didn't know what to do with them, instead of this just has been going badly with men, and so now I've decided I take on women. Because it just gives the impression that it's a choice, and biologically what you're attracted to is not anything you can help. But okay, girl. Anyway, and Quinn decides to make her own outfit that she is going to meet Ty and Camille in at brunch. She comes in this like Josephine Baker rainbow headgear, and it's like whatever the fuck it was. It looks like um Patty LaHelle. Remember when she had that YouTube channel and she said she was describing one of those outfits Nicki Minaj had on and called it Care Bear Blood. That's what it looked like. Okay, anyway. So that shit looked a hot ass mess. But I'll be honest, she could wear that shit on Hollywood Boulevard in LA and people would applaud that fuck whack ass shit. I've seen it too many times, spent too much time out there. So Ty tells Quinn that she has to watch out for drunk gay white men. Um, she said because they are like the worst. And she was like, well, this is my first pride. And she was like, honestly, if you really were into this, you would have gone to the gay black women's parade in Harlem. And I was like, this is so easy to believe. Okay. So when they get to the parade, this white man tries to come up to Quinn and touch her breast and says, oh, it's okay because I'm gay. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. But she was like, see, that's what I was telling you. And once again, being gay does not mean you automatically understand the struggles of race, and it does not absolve white men from their ideas of ownership over black women's bodies. Hello and good morning. Okay, anyway, so she's going hard for pride, even though she is new to the gay community. She doesn't know what she is. And I'm just like, girl, you in your 30s? Like, y'all gonna have to stop with this. Like, it's a stretch for me. Okay? Like, Ty being married and then leaving because she, decided to be honest with herself was a believable storyline, right? Um, but this, she had no idea, and then all of a sudden, girl, bye. Anyway, um, yeah. Meanwhile, before she even got to the parade, before she even got to brunch with Camille and Ty, her and Angie had a falling out because Angie was basically making it about her dates, trying to move out, all this other stuff. And she was like, look, you're going to make me unhappy. And I just need a happy day. Like, you are really like draining on me. So they kind of have a tiff. Anyway, um, so Quinn actually, meanwhile, back at the pride parade, Quinn sees her mom at the parade. All right, so we get Jasmine Guy and this Jamaican accent, and for some reason, it just doesn't. It's not believable like so many other things on the show. Um, and she says she's here helping Isabella, who we know is running for office, and she tries to hug her mom, and her mom is like, "No, I can't. There's plenty of men who want a mommy's hug around here, and they have great liquor, and I'll hug you next weekend." And so, of course, Ty walks away with her feelings hurt because she's being rejected by her mother again. And she was kind of mad that her mother was even there because her mother hasn't hardly talked to her since she admitted that she was gay. Truth be told, you and your mom didn't have a good relationship before that time. But okay, not Ty, Quinn. All right. So anyway, in the midst of brunch, Dr. Pruitt calls Camille, okay, to come and help her fix a problem. So Camille shows up to her house, okay, finds out that her research assistant fucked up. Okay, she plagiarized Dr. Pruitt's research project and opened credit cards in her name, did all this shit. So she called Camille to fix it and was unwilling to acknowledge that skipping over her to promote her was a mistake. Camille is still being treated like a graduate student, even now that she's a PhD and a lecturer. Now, this is one of the truest parts. A black woman professor acting like that with a lower ranking black woman professor, a recent PhD, a kind of young PhD, because I know, because I've been there. And that's also the hard part about lecturing. Lecturing is like when you just have one or two courses a year. They may pay $3,000 to $4,000, whatever. And that's one of the reasons why I decided when I finished my PhD, because I went to UCLA, and that's a big university. They need graduate students. They exploit graduate students for cheap to teach undergrads. So I had experience teaching, but I was just like, I went into independent schools because otherwise I was going to go back home to Georgia and teach in public schools. But then I had to go back to school again. And I was like, I just finished a PhD. What the fuck? But one of the things that I hated, I was like, why would I continue? Why would I get paid $3,000-$4,000 as a grown ass woman after doing all this fucking work? And while, yes, my dream at the time was to be a professor because because that's what you're trained to do. I just went on with my life. And to me, it's not worth it. But this is very true that you will continue doing this kind of thing in the hopes that you'll get that professorship. And the problem is the university has gotten to a point where they're producing more PhDs than jobs. And so they exploit PhDs, people who have the most advanced education, getting paid for shit money. And that's just not what I'm willing to do. Anyway, so then we find out Dr. Pruitt has a daughter in the midst of her telling Camille all this stuff. Has a daughter who apparently she has an inconsistent relationship with. And we'll pick back up there later. All right, so Ty is canceling the Q app because she doesn't want anybody to basically continue using it, making money that she has to give her ex-husband. Okay, honestly, I understand the sentiment. Somebody comes to the Q party and tells her how much of a difference they made with the app, even though Ty originally wasn't going to hear it. And she decides, you know what? I'm going to keep it going. I'm not going to let him stop me. All right, that was that, episode 5. So we're moving to episode 6, and we get out of the deadpan into the fire. Okay, so we get a lot of different dynamics. The most developed character on this cast is Camille, Megan Good's character. Megan Good, who also happens to be like the director and whatnot. Megan Good, you did a good job with your character. The rest of them just seem like stand-ins for friends. But then again, maybe some fake bitches are like that and they just have stand-ins for friends. Anyway, moving on. So apparently Ian has been tracking and hacking Camille's phone, okay? And meets Jameson at the bar and says for him to stop calling Camille and embarrassing himself. And Jameson asks, is that from her or you? And he says, that's from me for her. And I died. I don't know what about that was funny, but he was so dead ass serious with that line. That's what killed me. I was like, yeah, somebody, a man would lie like that. So that combo was some bullshit between men, not making any sense. Women would have probably gotten the fighting. Anyway, so he said, why did she send you to tell me that? And we were just cool yesterday. He was like, yesterday. So he tells him about the grant and so on and so forth. And Ian agrees that Camille should take it, as long as Jameson understands that Camille is with him for love and Jameson for work. And Jameson agrees, but we know that ain't real in real life or on the show. So Camille comes home and basically, Ian's cooked dinner, but he tells her basically about this hacking and tracking and all this stuff and why she should take the grant. Whatever. She also points out that Dr. Pruitt's research assistant had been pretending like she was black and she was really a white girl from Florida. And they sit there and talk like, I don't understand the upside of pretending to be black. What do they want? Why do they want oppression? Like, because that's all that comes with it. But anyway, so she's telling him that story and they have dinner, whatever. But she says now that this has happened, Columbia wants people to prove they are who they say they are. I'm like, she's been a lecturer. She didn't have to have her social security card or birth certificate before now. Okay, y'all. So anyway, she got to go to her mama's house to pick it up, which is where a lot of people keep it. All right. Anyway. So, her mom is the woman from, and I know y'all gonna be like, this is a real stretch of a reference. I'm sure this woman has played other things, but her mom is the woman from School Days. School Days, who was the friend with Lawrence Fishburne's girlfriend, who was always in her ear, like, let Dap go. I don't know why I remember that. Y'all remember that dance scene where it was like the light skinned girls versus the dark skinned girls, and she was one of the close friends? I was just like, now School Days, there are parts of that movie that I really appreciate that get the HBCU experience right. And then there are just parts of it that I feel like are figments of Spike Lee's imagination in terms of the way black women are one dimensional. And maybe that's because he wasn't getting the women in college. Anyway, moving on. So we find out that her mother is a little off, especially since her father left, I guess, when she was like 12. And her mom has the whole house decorated like Christmas, like constantly, despite the season, to keep her happy of her memories. Then she tries to tell Camille about how good her childhood was. And Camille is like, no, you're lying. And she pulls out her video game controller, which was a Nintendo 64 controller. I noticed it right off the bat. And she was like, we used to do this all the time. She was like, no, we didn't. She said, you bought that for me when Dad left to distract me while you dealt with your problems. Anyway, so I mean, it was clear that's a broken relationship. And that's what I mean. Camille's character is developed. If we could just get past all the other bullshit, like I need these other characters to have like development, right? So she gets her birth certificate and social security card from her mom and eventually leaves. So Quinn wakes up the next day and sits in the shower with her pajamas on. She's so depressed. And is it just me? Or does now, as much as I go in on Harlem, they have the best fucking soundtrack I have heard to any movie or show in a long time. Now that's something they need to put together so we can buy it. Because I'm going to be honest, that shit, every time I hear something, I'm like, oh, who's that? Oh, who's that? I need to get that. Like, I don't know what it is, but I love it. So anyway, Quinn wakes up the next day, sits in the shower, her pajamas on, And I'm gonna be honest, I have had some really depressing days and moments like that when disappointment becomes too much. And sometimes I would just like stand in the shower with my head just against the wall, like not in my clothes or anything, but just like I just didn't know what else to do. Um, in my personal life, sometimes in my professional life, it's happened. And Lord knows when they both happen at the same time. God have mercy. And it has. Okay. So anyway, I kind of appreciated that scene. Once again, I wish we could get more development, but nevertheless. So Angie and Mikey are making their relationship official. While Angie's on set for a Hallmark movie where she's playing the postal worker in the film, and Countess Vaughn shows up out of nowhere and tells her, in the dressing room, I guess, I don't know if it's the spirit of Countess Vaughn, whatever's in her imagination. And she tells Countess Vaughn, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for stealing your part. And Countess Vaughn looks at her hair and says, obviously, I didn't miss much. Because the white hairdresser basically decides not to do her hair, says she trusts Angie what to do with her own hair. And when I heard that little black girl from Euphoria, the one that played Rue's sister, was talking about the same thing, how they need to have black hairdressers on these Hollywood sets. This is clearly an indication of what really happens in Hollywood. Now, maybe the average person may not get that, but I'm connecting the dots. But anyway, Mikey wants to introduce her to his friends, and he's having a party and this stuff, and she's into it. It's still not totally clear how much Quinn knows about this relationship, but we'll see. Maybe if they develop the character, since we didn't find out how pissed off Quinn's parents were, even at the gay pride parade that she didn't show up at the vow renewal. Anyway, so Ty finalizes her divorce. She walks out pissed off that he got half. All right. And it's understood that he can't ask for anything else. It was like that lump sum payout. I was like, Ty's a millionaire? Okay. Okay. You can you help some of your friends out? Like Angie? All right. So he shows up, her ex-husband shows up at her door to talk. She shuts the door on him and then says, no, I want you to come back in here because you're going to hear this. And she wears his ass out with how he used her, how he's taking advantage of money that he never earned. He knows what he's doing. What he's doing is messed up. I mean, she goes in and then kicks him out. But he tears up the check the next time he's in there and just says, look, I just wanted you to feel as bad as I did. Like, you left me. Like, and he was embarrassed and hurt. By the end of the episode, though, they were acting more like friends. And he helps her take her shots to preserve her eggs because, the girl she's been sleeping with for fun was like, oh, you trying to have a family? I'm not interested. But she was like, I just want to preserve my eggs. But anyway, so that's kind of, and I do think there are times, and I have seen times where people who were married and somebody, it comes to the point where they're being honest about their sexuality. They may divorce, but they still have friendship after there's a level of forgiveness. Anyway, so Jameson and Camille start working together on this grant. And it's about black maternal health, so on and so forth. He explains to her that this is the deal. He can't take the grant unless they both do it because he did it in both their names. And the next thing we know, they're working together on the computer, and then she wakes up next to him in bed. I was like, Camille, girl, get it together. Now, the problem is she has two fine men. I'm going to be honest, because I find both Jameson and Ian attractive. Jameson is more my type, the kind of nerdy, got it together, but Ian is the kind you call when you just when you want to get it popping. Anyway, so finally, Angie and Ty really get the scoop on what's been bothering Quinn, because Quinn's been kind of embarrassed and not really, wanting to tell people what was going on. So they were like, well, we're here for you. And sometimes that is the case. And like I said, I understand what it is to be vulnerable like that and not want people to know. So they bring up their graduation days and how Camille thought about not going to grad school because she was in a bad place. Honestly, I was too about the decisions I was making when I graduated college. That's why I say Camille's character is the most developed part. And it's not because I simply don't identify necessarily with the other characters. It's just that I feel like they're one-dimensional. Ty's character is slowly coming along, but not quick enough. And they said, well, we took a girl trip to Puerto Rico and pulled her out of the funk, so let's go do it again. And Quinn's actually up for it. So that's where it's going to be next week. We'll see what kind of fuck shit they get into, because we know they'll get into it. We don't need a season 3, okay? But please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I'll see you all tonight for Potomac.